The silent target. The cell was cold. The walls were silver and smooth, humming with quiet energy. The human sat alone on the metal bench, chained by his wrists and ankles. His head was down, eyes closed. He hadn't moved in hours. 2 alien guards passed by his cell. They wore black armor and carried stun rifles. One of them glanced at the human and laughed. "Look at him," the guard said. "So weak. Just sitting there." "Humans are soft," the other replied. "No claws, no scales, just skin and bones." They moved on, not noticing the way the human's fingers twitched slightly. He heard everything. This wasn't the first ship that tried to move him. Others had failed. They just didn't know it yet. The ship drifted through deep space. It was a military transport, designed to carry dangerous prisoners to the High Court of Velen, the capital planet. The human was prisoner 9W17. No one knew his real name. Outside the cell, a red light blinked on the main control panel. Something was wrong. "System glitch," the pilot muttered, tapping the screen. But the glitch grew. Power flickered. Lights dimmed. Somewhere in the lower decks, a scream echoed. Then another. A voice crackled over the speaker. "Security breach. Unknown entity on board." The guards rushed toward the sound. One by one, they disappeared. Deep in the darkness, something moved. Something large. Something hungry. In the control room, the ship's captain looked at the monitor. Static filled the screen. Then, for a brief second, it cleared, just long enough to show a shadow. A tall, black shape, glowing eyes, claws longer than a sword. The captain's skin turned pale. That's not possible. It was the beast. The thing created by the Urketh labs. A bioweapon made to destroy any living target. It had wiped out entire colonies. No one had ever survived it, except one man. In the prison cell, the human opened his eyes. He had felt the shift. He had heard the steps. The beast was here. For him. The door to his cell hissed open. Steam flowed in. No alarms. No guards. Just silence. The beast stepped into view. It was twice the size of a normal soldier, covered in black armor-like skin. Its jaw opened wide, showing rows of sharp teeth. It growled low, like thunder rolling through a mountain. It stared at the human. The human stared back. No fear in his eyes. Just quiet. The beast stepped closer. It expected the human to scream, to beg, to run. Instead, the human stood. Slowly. Calmly. He didn't pull at the chains, he didn't shout, he just said 4 words, "You're not the first." Then, with a sharp twist of his wrist, the cuff snapped. The beast flinched. The human took a step forward. Then another. The lights above flickered. The ship groaned. Suddenly, the human moved. Fast. Too fast. In a single second, he was on the beast, wrapping the chain around its throat, driving his knee into its chest. The beast roared and swung its claw, but the human ducked. He grabbed the claw, twisted it backward, and snapped the bone. Crack! The beast screamed. It tried to retreat, but the human didn't let go. He slammed the beast into the wall again and again. Blood splattered across the cell. The human's face stayed calm. No anger. No rage. Just cold focus. Finally, the beast collapsed, broken and silent. The human stood over it, breathing steady. He wiped his hand on the wall. "They keep sending monsters," he whispered, "but they don't understand." He looked up at the camera in the corner of the cell. "I was made to fight monsters." The screen in the control room went black. The captain stared in horror. What is he?" No one answered. In space, the ship floated silently, and inside it, one man, unchained, unafraid, walked deeper into the shadows. What the beast saw, the body of the beast lay broken in the cell. Blood soaked the silver floor. Steam rose from its wounds. Its eyes were wide open, still glowing faintly even in death. The human stood over it, calm and silent. His breathing was slow, There was no anger in his expression, only focus, like he had done this before. He reached down and touched the beast's neck. Its skin was hard as armor, almost impossible to pierce with normal weapons. But he had crushed it with his bare hands. He knew what this thing was. He had seen it before. Years ago, in the Dark War. Back then, they called them Death Hunters. Weapons created by the Urkath Empire, grown, not built. Programmed to kill everything with a heartbeat. They had dropped one on his village. It tore through everything, men, women, children. Even soldiers could not stop it. But the human had. He remembered how its blood felt on his hands. Warm, sticky, thick like oil. Now here it was again. Same type, same growl, same mistake. But this time he wasn't just fighting for survival. This time, they had come for him. Across the ship, a camera blinked. The control room was filled with silence. The alien officers were frozen, staring at the dead feed from Cell 7. How is that possible? One of them whispered. The beast can't be killed, not by a human. He's not just a human, another said. We were warned, weren't we? He was a soldier, the captain muttered. From Unit 0. That unit is extinct, the officer said quickly. Every record was erased. The captain looked at the dark screen. Not every record. In the lower halls of the ship, emergency lights flickered red. The human walked slowly through the corridor, stepping over dead guards and torn walls. The air smelled like smoke and iron. He moved without fear. His eyes scanned the shadows. He could feel the next one coming. They never sent just one. Behind a sealed door, another beast waited. This one was larger, more advanced. It had longer arms, sharper claws, and 2 rows of teeth. Its skin was not black like the last. It was bone white, designed to blend into the ship's metal walls. And it was smart. It watched the human from behind the door, waiting, studying. Its instinct screamed that this prey was wrong, dangerous, different, not weak, but orders were orders. The creature had been created for one purpose, to kill. The door opened, slowly. The creature stepped out, silent as death. But the human had already disappeared. No sound, no trace. The creature moved forward, claws ready. A whisper came from behind. 2. Though. The creature turned and caught a chain around its throat. The human dropped from the ceiling like a shadow. He wrapped the chain around the beast's neck and yanked it backward, slamming it into the floor. But this beast was stronger than the last. It rolled, throwing him off. The floor shook from the impact. The human landed hard but didn't stay down. He flipped up and charged again. The fight was brutal. The beast swiped and roared, carving deep marks in the walls. Its claws scraped across the human's shoulder, drawing blood. But the human didn't slow down. He used every part of the ship, walls, ceiling, broken pipes, to dodge, hit, strike. He was faster, smarter, more precise. Finally, he wrapped the broken chain around the beast's jaw and pulled it upward. The creature screamed as its jaw tore from its face. It dropped to the floor, twitching. The human stood still, bleeding from the arm. He didn't feel pain. Not yet. He looked around. More doors were opening. They were sending everything now. In the control room, panic spread. He's killed 2, the officer shouted. 2 beasts. He wasn't supposed to last 5 seconds. The captain stared at the data screen. Heart rate normal. Movement precise. Brainwaves cold and calm. He turned to his second in command. He doesn't fight like a man. Then what? Is he? The officer whispered. The captain's voice dropped low. He's what they used to call a weapon. In the med bay, a young alien girl huddled under a bed. She was small, with pale skin and thin arms. Her eyes were wide with fear. Her father had been a mechanic. He was gone now, killed in the breach. She heard the roars, the gunfire, the screams. Then, silence. Footsteps. Heavy. Slow. Getting closer. She held her breath. The curtain opened. It wasn't a beast. It was the human, blood on his arms, chain in his hand. He looked at her. She looked back. He didn't speak. He just nodded once and turned away. But before he left, he dropped something beside her, a small glowing device. A safety beacon. He had taken it from a dead guard's belt. She stared at it, then back at the human walking back into the fire. The watchers panicked inside the command room. No one moved. The lights flickered above their heads. Alarms still blared faintly in the background. Red emergency lights painted the alien officers' faces in ghostly colors. But all they could see was the screen in front of them, now frozen on a still image. A human, drenched in blood, standing over two dead beasts. Behind him, fires burned in the corridor. Walls cracked open like paper, but the human stood straight, his eyes sharp, body calm. Too calm. "Shut the feed down," one of the officers whispered. The captain didn't speak. He leaned forward, eyes locked on the screen. "Sir," the younger officer tried again, voice shaking. "We should call reinforcements. That thing isn't a prisoner." The captain raised one finger. Silence. He tapped a button on the console. The screen flickered. Security footage replayed again, frame by frame. The human twisting the beast's neck. The blood. The silence. The child he spared. He made a choice, the captain said softly. He let her live. Another officer spoke, voice low with fear. "But why? It's not like him." The captain finally stood. He walked to the wall and pulled down a hidden file. It was black, sealed with a symbol none of the officers had seen before. 3 broken blades over a burning planet. "What is that?" the second in command asked. The captain placed the file on the table. "Classified history. Before your time. Before all of ours." He opened it slowly. Inside were old photos, cracked and faded. One showed a battlefield with shadows, humans with dark armor, standing over mountains of alien corpses. Another showed the same man now locked in their ship. He hadn't aged a day. "This is impossible," one officer said. "That photo's over 60 years old." The captain nodded. "Unit 0. The Ash Hands. They weren't soldiers. They were weapons. Human governments created them in secret to end wars quickly, by fear, not strategy." He flipped another page. They didn't follow orders, they followed instincts. One goal: destroy anything that threatened Earth. Back inside the burning halls of the ship, the human walked through the smoke. His eyes scanned everything. Every broken pipe. Every flicker of shadow. His body hurt, but he didn't slow. There were more coming. He passed by another broken security drone. He picked up its metal arm and snapped it off. Then, using a pipe and scrap wire, he turned it into a spear. His movements were practiced, automatic, like muscle memory from another life. From a past he didn't want to remember. But it was coming back now. Years ago, he had been sent to stop a rebellion on a frozen mining world. They told him to protect civilians, to capture the enemy leader. But the enemy had unleashed a biomonster, and command had lied. They didn't want prisoners. They wanted fire. He remembered standing in the snow, holding a child just like the one. On this ship, the beast had torn her family apart. He had torn the beast apart with his hands, but when he returned home, they didn't welcome him. They locked him away, called him dangerous, uncontrollable. So he stayed silent, until now. A loud crash snapped him out of memory. From the corner of the hallway, a new shape appeared. Not one beast. 3. They moved together, black, red and silver skin, designed for teamwork. They surrounded him, no sound, no roar, just cold, perfect steps. The human adjusted his grip on the spear. 3 at once, he muttered. They're getting desperate. The first beast charged. He ducked under its swipe and stabbed the spear upward, right through its mouth. The second leaped. He rolled aside, pulling a loose wire from the wall and wrapping it around the beast's leg. It tripped, crashed, and slammed into the floor. The third was faster. It tackled him, slamming his back into the wall. He groaned, finally feeling pain. The beast lunged for his throat. but he grabbed a shard of broken metal and drove it into the side of its head. Sparks flew. The beast fell. All three dead. But he was bleeding now. Badly. He staggered toward the medbay again. In the medbay, the alien child still waited. She looked up when she heard him. He leaned against the doorframe. Breath, heavy, blood soaking his arm and chest. She gasped. "You're hurt," she whispered. He didn't answer. She ran to grab a healing patch from the shelf. "I saw my father use this," she said, sticking it to his wound. "It might help." He winced, but nodded once. "Thank you." "What's your name?" she asked softly. He paused. "They used to call me Kane." In the command room, the captain stared at the name in the old file. Kane. The Ash Hands. Confirmed kill count. 340 mode unknown survivors. 0, except him. "What do we do?" the officer asked. The captain turned slowly. "We pray he leaves something. Standing. Memories of fire." The healing patch stung as it fused to Kane's skin. The girl watched with wide, worried eyes. She was no older than 9, her small hands shaking as she tried to clean his wounds with a scrap of cloth. "You're not like the others," she whispered. "The guards, the monsters, even the officers. They all looked afraid. But you're not." Kane didn't speak. He looked past her, through the broken door, into the hallway filled with smoke and shadows. But his silence wasn't cold. It was heavy, like a memory he didn't want to speak aloud. "Why are they hunting you?" she asked. He looked at her, then at the blood on his hands. "Because I lived. 10 years ago. The world was fire. The planet was called Arval 3. Peaceful, green, full of families, until the Urkath Empire dropped a beast bomb. Not a weapon, not a virus, a beast. A living nightmare, engineered to wipe cities clean. It worked. Within 2 hours, everything was ash." Kane had been there, sent with his unit, the Ash Hands. Their orders were clear: contain the threat, save what you can, destroy the rest. But when Kane arrived, it was already too late. He remembered the fires, the screams, the sound of bone snapping under claws, and the silence after. He found one girl hiding in a metal box, the only survivor. She couldn't speak, couldn't move, just stared. He killed the beast that came for her. He thought it was over, but the command told him to leave her, to move on. No, survivors, no evidence. He didn't follow that order. He carried her out through fire and blood. And for that, they branded him a traitor. He was never sent back. Now walking through the burning ship, Kane felt that same heat rising in his chest. Not rage, not fear, something else. Memory. He passed the corpses of more guards, some killed by beasts, some by their own fear. Blasters turned on themselves. They were never trained for this. They were trained to control. But Kane, he was trained to end. Deep in the ship, a new room opened, one no one dared enter. Inside, they kept the last of the Empire's beasts, the Alpha, a towering creature, twice the size of the others. Pure muscle and bone, plated with armor that no bullet could pierce. It didn't breathe through lungs. It didn't sleep. It only waited for orders. Now, its eyes opened. And it began to move. The control room shook. "They've released it," one officer said, panic in his voice. "The Alpha," whispered another. "They're really going to use it." "They have no choice," the captain said. "Cayenne is winning." The officers turned to him. "But the Alpha isn't loyal," the captain added. "It doesn't follow commands, it just kills." "Then, why release it?" the youngest asked. The captain looked away. "Because it's the only thing that might stop him." Kane paused in the hallway. The ship creaked around him. Something had changed, a shift in the air. He felt it. "It's coming," he said quietly. "What is?" the girl asked, standing beside him. He looked down at her, then slowly knelt. "You need to stay here." She shook her head. No, I won't hide again. He touched her shoulder gently. This thing, it won't stop. It doesn't think. It only kills. You can't fight it. And you can? He didn't answer. Just stood, then whispered, I've done it before. The hallway bent into darkness ahead. From the shadows came a low rumble. Then footsteps. Heavy. Slow. Shaking the floor. Cain stepped forward. The Alpha stepped into view. It was massive. White armor plates covered its chest and arms. Its face was long and sharp like a blade. Its eyes burned like twin fires. They stared at each other in silence. No words. No mercy. The Alpha moved first. It launched forward with a speed that didn't match its size. Cain barely rolled aside. The claws sliced the wall like paper. He struck, with the metal spear, but it shattered on the Alpha's skin. The beast kicked him hard, sending him crashing through a wall. Blood spilled from his mouth. The girl screamed in the distance. But Cain pushed himself up. Bones cracked. Pain burned. He didn't stop. In the command room, the officers watched with wide eyes. He's getting torn apart. No. Look, the captain said. Cain had grabbed a high-voltage wire from the wall. As the Alpha charged again, Cain shoved the wire into its mouth. A flash of light. The beast screamed. Cain leaped onto its back, wrapped a broken pipe around its neck and pulled with all his strength. The Alpha slammed into the wall, trying to shake him off. But Cain held on. His arms shook, his legs bled, but he didn't let go. The battle went on for minutes that felt like hours. Finally, the Alpha collapsed, smoke rising from its mouth and eyes. Cain rolled off, gasping. He didn't move. The girl ran to him. Are you okay? He looked up, barely breathing. Not yet. Behind them, something clicked. Another door opening. One more challenge. The final test. But Cain just smiled, blood on his teeth. Let them come. The cage opens. The Alpha's body twitched one last time, then went still. Thick smoke curled from its mouth. The floor around it was cracked and scorched. Cain leaned against the wall, chest rising and falling with slow, heavy breaths. His hands shook. The fight had drained him, but not broken him. The alien child knelt beside him, her small hands pressing a second healing patch to his ribs. You shouldn't move, she whispered. Cain gave a faint smile. Can't stay still. Not yet. His eyes turned toward the hallway ahead. A new sound echoed, different from the beast's. Slower. Colder. Mechanical. Footsteps made of steel. The next phase had begun. In the command chamber, panic turned into quiet terror. The captain stood still, his hand on the console, his eyes locked on the feed. He killed the Alpha, an officer muttered, with nothing but wires and a broken pipe. No, not just that, the captain replied. With precision, timing, instinct, he knew exactly how long the wire would hold, how the pipe would bend, how the beast would fall. He looked up. We're not dealing with a man. We're dealing with what men become when they are broken too many times. Another officer turned toward a locked section of the room. Should we activate it? No, the captain said quickly. But it's our last defense. It's not a defense, it's a disaster. If we open that, we don't stop him. We destroy everything. The room fell silent again. The only sound was Cain's heartbeat still echoing through the ship's sensors. Strong. Steady. Dangerous. Back on the lower deck, Cain stood slowly. The child looked at him. What is it now? They're done testing. Me, he said. Now they want to bury me. He looked toward a heavy, rusted door sealed at the end of the corridor. Above it were strange markings, old warnings in a forgotten alien language. He'd seen those markings before, once, deep underground, on a frozen moon. During a mission no one survived but him. He had barely walked away. Behind that kind of door was not a beast, not a machine. It was something worse, something that should have stayed in its cage. Cain walked toward the sealed door, his steps slow, careful. The child followed until he raised a hand. No, not this time, he said. Stay here. If I don't come back, it'll run. But where will I go? He didn't answer, just stepped into the shadows. The door scanned him automatically. Access. Granted. The locks clicked, metal groaned. The door slid, open. And the darkness inside welcomed him like an old friend. Inside, the air was cold. Colder than it should have been. Frost on the walls, breath visible. But this wasn't a freezing room. This was a holding cell for something ancient, something not born, but discovered. It stood in the center of the chamber, frozen in a stasis field. Tall, lean, not like the other beasts. Its skin shimmered like glass. Its eyes were closed, but even in rest it radiated power. The last remnant of the lost war. A creature older than the Urkath Empire itself. A god made of teeth and silence. Cain stepped closer. His fingers brushed the controls. And, in his mind, it spoke. Not in words, but in pain. Memories. Regret. He staggered back, clutching his head. His nose bled. But he didn't fall. He whispered, "I know what you are." The stasis field cracked. A thin line of light ran down the creature's chest. Its eyes opened. Black. Endless. The room exploded in light and sound. In the control room, alarms screamed louder than ever before. The captain slammed his hand on the console. "You fools! You left the inner vault online." "We didn't think he could." "Reach it!" an officer shouted. "You didn't think," the captain snapped. No one was supposed to survive long enough to enter that chamber. The screen turned to static, then flickered, and showed Cain, standing alone in the chamber. Behind him, the cage was empty. Back on the ship, the creature moved. Slow, graceful. It didn't roar. It didn't charge. It just walked. The walls around it twisted. Metal bent. Lights died. Cain followed behind it, blood still dripping from his chin. He had made a deal, or maybe it was something else. Maybe the thing just recognized him, respected him. Maybe it remembered him. The child ran through the halls, searching. She found the captain's escape pod open. She hesitated, then ran the other way, toward the fire, toward Cain. The creature reached the upper deck. Guards opened fire. It didn't flinch. It didn't even notice. Blades formed from its arms, liquid and solid at the same time. It tore through everything. But when it reached the final door, it stopped and waited. Cain stepped forward. He touched the control panel. Open it. The door led to the communication tower. Once inside, Cain activated the beacon, not to call for help, but to broadcast to every channel, every system, every planet. They would all see the footage of what he did, of what they did, of what they unleashed, and then they would know that no cage can hold what refuses to die. The Emperor's fear. The beacon light pulsed from the top of the ship like a heartbeat in the dark. Cain stood in silence beside the ancient creature, watching the signal rise into space. It was already too late to stop it. Every planet, every station, every listening post across the galaxy would receive it. The video showed everything. The cages, the beasts, the child hiding from monsters, and Cain, fighting with nothing but chain, bone, and rage. A ghost from a forgotten war. Far above the ship, in a golden fortress floating near a dying sun, the Emperor of the Urkath Empire watched the footage unfold on a giant screen. His face, once calm and proud, turned pale with every passing second. His advisors stood behind him, whispering, arguing, afraid to speak too loud. "How is he still alive?" one asked. "He should have been destroyed," another muttered. "He was erased from all records, wasn't he?" The Emperor didn't answer. He couldn't. He knew the truth. He knew the human's name. And the one thing he feared more than war, more than death, more than the collapse of his empire, was Cain. Many years ago, the Emperor had been a general. His ship had crash-landed during a secret raid on a rebel moon. His soldiers were dead. He was injured, trapped, crawling through smoke and ash. And that's when he saw him, a human with burned skin and blood-red eyes dragging a wounded child through the fire. Cain. He had walked through death like it was nothing. His hands were covered in beast blood, his back torn open, but he still moved forward. He didn't speak. He didn't stop. The general had hidden in the wreckage, hoping the monster would pass. But Cain had seen him, looked directly into his eyes, and let him live. He never understood why. But the look in Cain's eyes that day haunted him. Not rage, not mercy, something else. Judgment. Now, as emperor, he realized something terrible. Cain hadn't just survived. He had waited all these years. And now, he was back, and the galaxy was watching. Inside the ship, the chaos hadn't stopped. The ancient creature, the last weapon of the lost war, stood still in the comms tower, its glass-like body pulsing with quiet energy. It didn't speak. It didn't need to. Its silence was enough to paralyze the guards hiding behind the doors. Cain turned to it. "You don't want to destroy this place, do you?" The creature looked at him, then slowly shook its head. Cain gave a weak smile. "Me neither." The girl appeared in the doorway, her arms scratched, her face streaked with smoke. "They're coming," she said. "Ships from the Empire." Cain's jaw tightened. "How many?" "A lot." He looked down at her, then up at the sky. "Good." The Empire had sent everything they had: battle cruisers, assault ships, orbital cannons. They surrounded the transport ship like vultures. "Target the signal source," an admiral barked. "Destroy the tower. Kill the human. Kill the monster." The captain of the ship, still alive and bleeding in the med bay, heard the orders. His face twisted with guilt. He tapped a comm on his wrist. Static. Then Cain's voice. "You want to talk now?" Cain said, tired but calm. "You can't win this," the captain said. "Not against the whole Empire." "I'm not trying to win," Cain replied. "I'm trying to wake them up. They won't listen. They'll just send more. Then they'll learn," Cain whispered. "The same lesson you did. You can cage the body but not the fire inside it." In the tower, the creature turned to Cain, and for the first time, it spoke. Not with sound, but through his mind. "Let me go." Cain's eyes narrowed. "You'll die out there. So will you." "Maybe. But they will remember." Cain turned to the child. "You need to go. Not without you." He knelt down, touched her shoulder gently. "You have to tell them. The people. What happened here. What they did. If I go, and you go too, the story dies." Tears filled her eyes. But she nodded. He handed her a data crystal. His memories, recordings, truth. "Don't drop this," she smiled faintly. "You're bad at goodbyes." "I never learned how," he whispered. He helped her into an escape pod and sealed the door. "Go now." The pod launched, straight through the Empire's blockade. No one stopped it. Not yet. Back. In the tower, Cain stood beside the ancient creature one last time. "You sure about this?" he asked. The creature looked at him and nodded. Cain placed one hand on its chest. "Then let's show them." He slammed his fist into the control panel. The tower burst with light. The creature exploded upward, through the roof, into the sky. The Empire opened fire. Beams of red and blue tore through space, but the creature moved like wind and light. It struck one cruiser, then another. Ships spun, alarms rang, and in the middle of it all, Cain walked into the flames of the collapsing tower. On the far side of the galaxy, in a quiet village on a neutral planet, the child climbed out of the escape pod, holding the crystal tight. Reporters and diplomats rushed toward her. "What happened? Who are you? Who saved you?" She looked up at the sky, smoke still rising from far, far away, and she whispered, "A human with fire in his soul. The final hunt. The sky was on fire, Empire ships burned across the stars, crashing into each other like broken bones. The ancient creature flew through them like a blade of light, silent, deadly, unstoppable. But it wasn't fighting to win. It was fighting to distract, because deep inside the burning prison ship, one man still moved through smoke and ruin. Cain, blood on his hands, dust in his lungs, fire in his eyes. He walked through what was left of the tower, each step slow, each breath sharp. Explosions shook the floor under his boots, but he didn't stop. His ribs were broken, his muscles torn. Every inch of his body screamed for rest. But he had one more thing to do, one last message to send. Not to the Empire, not to the beasts, to the people. Across the galaxy, the data crystal the girl carried reached neutral space. The media played it. People watched. Farmers, soldiers, scientists, slaves. They saw the cages, the monsters, the broken child. They saw him, a human tearing through nightmares with nothing but his hands. They didn't see hate in him. They didn't see revenge. They saw protection, honor, sacrifice. And across 1,000 worlds, a new name began to spread. Not just the human, not the prisoner. They called him the Firewalker. In the Empire's central palace, the Emperor stood alone in his throne room. The lights were dim, advisors gone, officers silent. Every screen around him showed the same footage, the final moments of the tower, and then static. He gripped the arms of his throne. He had feared this day for years. He had buried the past, killed those who knew it, rewritten the history books. But still, he came back, and now the people saw him for what he truly was. Not a beast, not a threat, a protector, a warning. Back in the wreckage of the ship, Cain reached the deepest chamber, the energy core. Half the ship had already collapsed. Power flickered. His fingers moved across the console with shaking precision. One by one, he overrode the Empire's locks, then he activated the core. The entire ship began to glow. Not red, not blue. White, the color of rebirth. The creature outside felt the pulse. Its mission was complete. Its body began to burn from the inside, slowly, dissolving into light, but it didn't scream. It didn't resist. It accepted the end, because it had seen something in the human it had never seen in all its time. Hope. Inside, Cain made a final recording. His voice was calm, low, tired. If you're hearing this, it means I'm gone. Good. I wasn't built to last. He looked into the camera. They sent beasts to kill me, monsters to break me. They locked me in chains and fed me to shadows, he smiled. But I was never theirs, I never broke. He paused. And you don't have to either. His voice grew softer. Fight for each other. Protect the small ones. And when they tell you to kneel, you tell them a human once stood where no one else could. The recording ended. The core reached full charge, and Cain closed his eyes. From space, the Empire fleet watched in silence. The ship pulsed once, then shattered into a ring of light. Not fire, not destruction. Release. The signal from the tower kept echoing, over and over, spreading, unfiltered, unchanged. And the people listened. Months passed, then years. Rebellion started. Not with guns, with truth. Students marched in the Emperor's capital carrying a simple symbol. Flame with a human silhouette in the center. They sang no anthems, they carried no weapons, but they held their ground. One child stood before armored soldiers and whispered, "You can kill me, but you can't kill what he left behind." The soldiers lowered their weapons and walked away. The Empire fell slowly, piece by piece. Not because of war, because of memory. The memory of a man who didn't burn. A man who faced beasts and walked through them like wind. A man who never stopped fighting for those who couldn't fight for themselves. On a distant world, in a small school built from old scrap metal, the alien girl taught history to young ones. They asked her stories, and every time she spoke, they leaned closer, not to hear how he killed, but how he protected, how he stayed, how he bled, so others didn't have to. Above the school, a statue stood, not of a warrior with a sword, but of a tired man holding a child walking through fire. His face was calm, his hands were strong, and at his feet, a single word. Remember. The end.